Philip Ingram's MBE, rather conveniently on a day when we are discussing intelligence and security threats and what on earth is going on with international espionage, just happens to be a former senior military intelligence officer. Good morning to you.
Good morning. I know nothing. I deny any knowledge. I can't say a thing.
The torture will now begin. Now, I'm going to put the question to you, but I'm going to put it to the audience first and give them the number, just a reminder, because the Prime Minister, the Civil Service, and apparently the Crown Prosecution Service don't appear to know whether or not China is a threat to Britain's national security. So my question to you, my lovely audience, is, do you think China is a threat, and why? And what do you think on earth is going on in this China spy case? Bearing in mind the two men who've been accused of a crime have denied said they are innocent, they've denied any guilt, and that case has collapsed. But give us a call on 0344 499 1000, text the word talk in your message to 87222. Get in touch with us on X at Talk TV. Calls are charged at the national rate, text cost 1, standard network rate message. We'll get your calls very, very soon. So, Philip Ingram, is China a threat to Britain's national security or not?
Yes. It is.
There we are. And moving on with the show.
Right. So we don't have to discuss this anymore. It is, without doubt, you're one of the bigger threat actors that are out there. Its primary collection task or a priority is getting economic advantage. China is the second largest economy in the world. UK is the sixth largest economy in the world. It's got links to the United States, links into EU and everything else, and China wants to try and exploit that to gain further economic advantage for itself. At the same time, it's then looking for political advantage and military advantage in a lot of what's going on around the world. Well,
I mean, again, and China won't be the only country doing that.
Oh,
there's no
every country does it to every other country.
Wait a minute, but I mean that they, you know, obviously, you know, Russia's doing it, Iran's doing it. Oh, come on. We've seen evidence recently that there's you know, we've got, you know, America spying on, you know, Germany, for goodness sake. I mean, everyone's spying on everyone.
Yes,
so let's not pretend this is what countries do.
Correct.
But particularly when they are you know, hostile nation states. But here's the thing. In this particular case, we've got two men who were accused. They have denied all charges, but the charges have been dropped now. But they have been accused of basically spying for China, handing over documents. One was a parliamentary researcher. This is Christopher Cash and Christopher Berry, of handing over documents to China, a hostile nation state, an enemy state. And the whole case seems to hinge on whether or not, at the time these alleged crimes took place, whether or not China was deemed an enemy state. Now, the law has been changed in recent years, in the last couple of years, which changes it. So to prosecute someone under effectively the Official Secrets Act, it has to be handing documents to an enemy state as opposed to just sort of any other state that we're having problems with. That seems to be the crux of the matter. But it all comes down to who knew what when and who had what meetings, because we've got a Prime Minister who appears to be at odds with the Director of Public Prosecutions, that's Stephen Parkinson. Given that the Prime Minister is a former Director of Public Prosecutions, the person in charge of the Crown Prosecution Service, that's quite something. We've got two other former Directors of Public Prosecution who've also basically backed the current one. He seems to be in dispute with the Civil Service after one of his ministers, Security Minister Dan Jarvis, earlier this week, basically came out and went, oh, no, this decision wasn't made by the National Security Advisor, the political appointee, the special advisor, who is Jonathan Powell, but by the Deputy National Security Advisor, a civil servant, long-standing Matthew Collins. Now, the trouble we've got here is that Matthew Collins appears to be very well respected within the civil service and very well respected by the last Tory government and by many current figures within the Labour government. And so we're getting a lot of information that's coming out here and there. Last night, after Prime Minister's questions, when Kemi Badenoch, all 6 questions, bang, 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 all about this issue, really got quite nasty between the two of them, quite personal. Basically, she's saying, well, I smell a rat. And the Prime Minister goes, oh, there's nothing. We're going to publish these statements later. They publish the statements. There's not a smoking gun. There's no document that says, let's not give them evidence in this because we'd rather have an economic trade deal with China. There's nothing that obvious. However, there is stuff in these documents, in these evidential statements, that suggests that there was some deliberate attempt to not give the Crown Prosecution Service the evidence they needed and had repeatedly asked for months to get the evidential level over the line to be able to bring a case.
There's a number of things in that. First of all, the Prime Minister turned around and tried to blame this all during the Tory government, but one of the documents he released last night was dated whenever the current government is in place, so he brought it. And you're right, it's down to the subtleties of the law. The Official Secrets Act 1911, which is what the individuals were charged under, defines an enemy as a state that you're effectively at war with, or a state that you're not at war with but considered a future adversary. Now, it's that bit that the government hasn't defined. However, there was a High Court ruling in 2025 that broadened that to be a bigger threat, and that's something that that could have easily been tested in court.
Well, this is the thing. I mean,
it's up to the courts to do that.
It's up to a jury to decide. It's the idea that this case, again, I must stress, the two men who were accused do deny any crime.
Yes.
But the idea that this case didn't pass an evidentiary threshold, the fact that they couldn't have got, I mean, Richard Diller, we're going to speak to later, I think he'd have been happy as a former MI6 boss to say, yes, he considers China to be a threat. Numerous other people. There were numerous statements by the former government at the time, and this all came up in Prime Minister's questions, what the former Foreign Secretary, James Cleverly, had said, what other government members have said, and the Business Secretary, as she now, the Tory leader, Kemi Bagnall. Everybody has said, look, China is a threat.
Yes.
There were numerous documents that stated this. It does none of this rings true.
It doesn't.
Okay,
it doesn't
so
smell right.
do we think? What do we think? Look, bearing in mind, I'm always in favour of the cock-up over the conspiracy as a general rule. But what do we think? What's our best guess about what has actually happened, Philip?
It's very difficult to work out exactly what's happened, because it would be so easy for the government to turn around and make a very clear statement to say, the 2023 Act, which is the new National Security Act, has a definition of material assist to foreign intelligence service, but that wasn't applicable because these actions happened before that came into place.
Or alleged actions, yeah.
And the 1911 Act, if the government turned around and said, we have had no formal definition during that time, no matter what people have said, it hasn't been formally put in a way that would, in our opinion, cross the bar to make China an enemy to be applicable under that Act, full stop, draw a line under it, move on. The fact that the case has collapsed, the intelligence services probably aren't too bothered about that, because they've disrupted the whole of the
They don't want this stuff
operation.
coming out in open court.
And they wouldn't want to reveal it. It's not unusual that if you've got a court case based primarily on data that's coming through intelligence services, they don't want to be quizzed in an open court where a defence barrister can drill into things that they don't want to release. And therefore, it's quite often that they'll get something to the point where it goes to court and then withdraw their evidence.
OK. Here's the thing, though. How much political influence do we think there was? Because one of the things that we are being asked to believe, and various journalists who've been on top of this are basically asking us to believe that for months and months and months, the Crown Prosecution Service was asking this senior civil servant, can you please provide us with the evidence that we believe there has? And we thought there was until a few months ago, but somehow miraculously there isn't. And there are different interpretations of why they've done that. Can you please, we're about apparently said we're 5% short of the threshold. I mean, I know of many cases, as covered as a journalist, which have a lot less evidence than this case. So it's a bit bizarre they're even claiming that. But we need some more evidence, please. So for many, many months, he refuses to reply. Doesn't bother mentioning it to anyone, not even over a coffee, not over, you're popping to go to get some water in the kitchen at work, and you don't mention it to your boss, National Security Advisor. By the way, the Director of Public Prosecutions is asking me for more evidence in this high-profile case that's been on the front page of the newspapers over the last couple of years. Really, I mean, I find that incredible in the true sense of the phrase, as in not credible, as in simply never happened.
Correct. Yes. There is something going on that is covering this up, and the fact that the Deputy National Security Advisor did not seek advice from his boss is just wrong. You'll have sought advice from a number of different people. The fact that
he'd be crazy not to, even just to protect himself.
Oh, very much so. And he's competent, and he knows that. And the Security Minister stood up in Parliament and made a statement about this. And then less than 24 hours later, it was proven that he hadn't brought out some of the detail that then came out. And then the Prime Minister says we can't release the evidence, and then he goes and releases the evidence. The government is tying itself in knots here, which all points to there being something that they're trying to hide.
And they're trying to cover up. Could it be as simple as, look, they didn't want this case to go forward because they genuinely thought that it's not going to serve any purpose, and it's going to anger the Chinese. We've already sorted these guys out if they believe they were guilty, and and we'd rather get a trade deal because trade is vital to us. And I mean, is it just that simple? And if it is that simple, is that something we should be worried about? Because at the end of the day, no, there's no doubt at all this government is incompetent. We've seen this on an extraordinary level. We're no doubt at all also that many politicians of many political hues are very, very excited about people with money, whether they are rich billionaire donors, whether they're big companies, whether they own Twitter or X, whether they are foreign national governments. We know that our politicians across the board are willing to go, yes sir, no sir, 3 bags full sir, to these people, and that is one of our concerns. But when you're in a situation where it looks like that our national security has played second fiddle to, I don't know, £1 billion, nothing, no mark down the money down the back of the sofa trade deal, that is a concern.
It is a concern, and the government has to balance off, and this is a political decision, the political relationship it has with China, the second largest economy in the world, and ourselves, the 6th largest economy in the world, and both permanent members of the Security Council of the United Nations. So it has to do that, but it then has to balance off our relationship with the United States and look at what's going on there. And we are out of step with the United States' view on China and what's going on at the moment. So the government is in a very difficult position and has got a very difficult balancing act. All the decisions in that are political. However, this should come outside the political side of things. It absolutely
should, yeah. I mean, also we've got Dominic Cummings. I don't know, how much can you ever trust anything Dominic Cummings says, the former number 10 aide to Boris Johnson? He's got
eyesight difficulties.
Well, exactly. Were you not at a castle for your eyesight problems? But China stole Britain's state secrets for years. He says they used a backdoor into sensitive Whitehall computer systems. The Chinese were allowed to buy a company that controlled a data hub used by government departments to exchange information, including highly classified projects, not some of the most super highly classified, but they basically accessed it for absolute years. So while we're a bit worried about 2 men who've been accused of passing a couple of documents over, you've got to wonder.
Oh, 100% China will be doing that. China is monitoring the streets of London today through CCTV cameras.
They've hacked.
No, they haven't hacked them, because certain CCTV cameras, when you buy the package, they'll give you a cloud storage package that goes with it. The servers are in continental China. They can run whatever they want on the servers to AI to monitor people wandering around the streets of London.
Madness.
Without the owners of the camera knowing about it, and without any of the privacy legislation that is applicable in the UK being applied to what the Chinese are doing. They are a significant threat to this country.
I think what we should definitely do is on Tuesday the government should approve planning permission for them to have a huge, massive, bigger than any other embassy in the country, and indeed the biggest Chinese embassy in pretty much the world.
Very close to the City of London.
Close to the City of London, very, very close within metres of some crucial communication cables. I mean, what could possibly go wrong? And by the way, the planning documents have a whole basement area, a super basement that is completely redacted. We've got no idea what's down there. Oh yeah, we do. I mean, it's just, probably knowing the Chinese, torture chambers. I mean, I'm not being glib. They dragged Chinese dissidents off the streets demonstrating outside the Chinese current embassy and dragged them inside. And, goodness knows what happens to them. I mean, we are insane. We are sleepwalking into this stuff.
I was looking at those plans only yesterday in minute detail, and it's not just the embassy itself. It's it's in the centre of the centre of the City of London. There's a lot of people living around the outside of it. The Chinese will be actively surveilling everyone that has got a direct view of the embassy and an indirect view, and they'll be sucking up all of the communications that are going on around the area. So people's personal mobiles, their Wi-Fi's, they will be interfering with people's personal lives the whole way around. This is something that should never be allowed to be put in there.
And it's already been, Town Hamlets Council, the local council, they've already said no. Yeah. And that's a useless council. I mean, my local paper training around there, I mean, even more so now under Lufthansa. But I mean, it's just extraordinary. I mean, we are, again, we had a Tory government that were quite happy to hand over sort of 5G to Huawei, a Chinese company. Again, all Chinese-owned companies are completely and utterly beholden to the Chinese government.
Article 7 of the Chinese National Intelligence Act requires all individuals and companies to comply with Chinese intelligence when asked to do so.
And when they are asked to do so, and they do comply. The fact that was nuclear power stations, you name it. I mean, they're supplying most of the cars, the e-cars they're making all the wind turbines, making the solar panels. They've been involved in the nuclear power. I mean, yeah, let's let people who are a hostile nation state, let's face it, an enemy state, who are spying on us, who kill their own people for being dissidents, who don't. We saw what they did in Hong Kong, for God's sake. I mean, but by all means, let's let them have control of our critical infrastructure, and let's cozy up to them because we desperately want a trade deal. This is manifestly insane.
Completely insane. And what it's doing is it is undermining the very fabric of our industrial society, our research society, and all the rest of it. It's no action.
Yeah, I mean, they are spying on. I mean, basically, they make a load of things, but they completely ignore all sort of patent law and copyright law.
They steal the plans, they'll manufacture it, they then can sell it where they don't have to put the cost of developing it onto it.
Which we pay for,
which we pay for, and they can sell it cheaper. And that's what they do, and that's why they flood the market. And we're sitting there going, but we invented this, and that's out there. And that's been proven time after time.
Utter madness. Utter madness. I'd love to hear your thoughts, because the government, the Prime Minister, the Civil Service and the Crown Prosecution don't appear to know whether or not China is a threat to Britain's national security. Do you know? Do you have any clue? Do give us a call, 0344 499 1000. You're also welcome to call in on any other topic as well. Not that we've got to another topic, but I do want to get onto one or two very, very, very briefly. One is Rachel Reeves' budget. It's coming up. It's kind of racing towards us 6 weeks' time on November the 26th. And Rachel Reeves has done various interviews ahead of and after arriving at the IMF summit meeting in Washington. And basically she said, yes, that taxes on the rich will be part of the story of the budget. But don't worry, rich people won't leave. I mean, they've got super yachts, love. They've got homes in other countries. They absolutely will leave. How do we know this? Because in every country that has done more taxes on the rich, they do leave. Now, you know, the reality is very rich people are not like the rest of us. One, they're very rich. Two, they're very, very mobile.
Yeah. And the UK has lost more wealthy people than only one other country in the world, and that's
which is that?
China. Over the last year. And you know,
even Russia hasn't lost as many as us.
Exactly. And Rachel Reeves, it's interesting coming up to this budget. You know, she blames the Tories and said over 14 years of Tory control, they've left a £22 billion black hole. The black hole she's now talking about is £40 billion. So in less than 18 months, she's added another 18
But again,
billion
it's this
to
idea.
it.
People need this whole idea. The wealthy need to pay their fair share of tax. The top 1% pay 30% of income tax in this country. I don't know what would be a fair. I mean, the top rate of income tax is 45 pence to the pound, plus. Plus national insurance on a good whack of that first income. I don't know how. I mean, is that not enough? Is that not enough?
And then the wealthy people tend to be running companies that are employing lots of people and are paying more tax. They tend to buy lots of high net worth goods. So they pay an awful lot of VAT. They tend to buy big houses, so there's stamp duty and everything else.
They're spending money all the time. But this is a crucial thing for me as well. I know a lot of people who are very rich. I know a lot of people who are probably going to be hit if there are wealth taxes. The thing is, to a man and a woman, they've done it on their own. They come from ordinary background. Now, there are plenty of rich people who've inherited everything, but they're not,
But that's not the majority.
They're not the majority. And even in America, and again as well, and as well, most people, they've done it on their own. If someone has got wealthy and has done well because they have worked really, really hard, and I mean the stress levels that they mortgaged their home to start a business. They made something or provided a service that we want to buy. They're employing people. They built that company. I'm intensely relaxed about those people earning a shed load of money. I want them to be taxed. I think they should be taxed at a reasonable rate. I'm of the view that when your overall tax rate is over 50%, I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. I think it's disincentive. But they're already paying a hell of a lot of tax, and we need them to stay here, and they will leave. I know people who have left. We know what happened when France put in a 70% tax on higher income. Literally thousands of the wealthiest people left. They leave the country and they don't come back until that tax disappears, and so you lose all of their taxes. It's absolute madness. I mean, but they're going to do it anyway. Just find it. One other thing, Prince Andrew, Virginia Giuffre, late Virginia Giuffre, who was a victim of Jeffrey Epstein and many of the men that he flew on his was it Lolita Express and went to his Rape Island. Let's call it what it was, Rape Island. And she's always claimed that she had sex with Prince Andrew on 3 occasions when she was 17 years old, not below the age of consent in this country, but she says she was trafficked by Prince Andrew, and she was told she'd done a good job and was given money even after having sex with Prince Andrew. He's always denied having sex with her, and denied that he ever met her, despite the photograph of them together with Ghislaine Maxwell, now behind bars for her role in those crimes. But also, because he never had sex with her, but he paid her about 10 million quid, the way you do to people you've never met who claim they've had sex with you. She's got a new book out. It's her memoirs. It's out after her very sad suicide. A very common thing, sadly, among victims of sexual abuse, and a very troubled woman, as you would be after that life. Yeah. But she says Prince Andrew felt sex with me was his birthright. This story will not go away. Correct. But neither will Prince Andrew. He refuses to skulk into the background. He clearly still thinks he's done nothing wrong, despite paying 10 million quid to the woman who claims he did. Yeah, and this is where his brother, the King, I think will stand up and push him even further back. But it was interesting to see the body language between Prince Andrew and Prince William when they were together last. It's quite clear that if the King doesn't step up whenever Prince William becomes king, he will make sure that Andrew is put into the Tower. Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of that as well. The wealth taxes, Prince Andrew, you name it. Give us a call. 0344 499 1000 is the number. We'll get to your calls on China.